Welcome everyone to Things Around 8. Dear friends, in this video we will talk about a recent statement made by the Kremlin, which said that French soldiers sent to Ukraine will be legitimate targets, with senior members of Vladimir Putin's regime even saying that they will be actively hunted. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any news. On June 4th, during a working trip to the Republic of Congo, Sergei Lavrov, Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs, said that any French soldier in Ukraine will be seen as a legitimate target, regardless of their mission in the country. During his statement, Lavrov said that he believes that French instructors are already deployed and working in Ukraine, adding that no matter the rank or function of these soldiers, all will be seen as legitimate targets. This statement by Lavrov was accompanied by other similar statements from senior members of the Kremlin, who said that Russia is preparing a real operation to hunt down French soldiers in Ukraine, aiming to injure or kill as many of them as possible once they arrive in the country. The aim of this strategy of hunting down French soldiers is quite clear: to cause a large number of casualties among the French elements stationed in Ukraine in order to put pressure on French public opinion. According to several Russian propagandists, when the wounded French soldiers begin to return home, and even worse, when the coffins of dead French soldiers begin to arrive, public opinion will react with fury and indignation, putting pressure on French President Emmanuel Macron to withdraw the soldiers from Ukraine. This is indeed a strategy that may yield some results depending on the number of casualties accumulated, as this was precisely what forced the French withdrawal from Indochina in 1954. That conflict, known as the First Indochina War, began in 1946, shortly after the end of World War II. During World War II, all of French Indochina, consisting of territories that today correspond to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia and part of China, was under Japanese control, with local rebel forces fighting fiercely against the Japanese occupying forces. When the Japanese surrendered, Indochina returned to French control, with the rebels, who had previously fought the Japanese, now fighting the French, using advanced guerrilla warfare techniques that had been honed during the 5-year war against Japan. In the late 1940s, the rebels, led by communists such as Ho Chi Minh, began to receive strong Chinese and Soviet support, which provided the rebels with a large quantity of modern weapons, resulting in a large increase in French casualties. And so, in August 1954, after 7.5 years of war, and after France had accumulated almost 21,000 dead and 65,000 wounded, public pressure was so great that the French government had no choice but to withdraw from Indochina. A withdrawal that would pave the way for the beginning of another war, even bloodier than this one, the Vietnam War. Russia is well aware that Western public opinion has a great influence on the way countries engage in wars. This is, in fact, why the United States did not return to Vietnam in 1974 and 1975. After North Vietnam tore up the agreement signed in January 1973 that ended that war, President Gerald Ford, lacking popular support, after more than a decade of heavy American casualties in a conflict in far-off Southeast Asia, was unable to send his troops back to Vietnam, thus handing victory to the North Vietnamese communists. This is, in fact, the great Achilles heel of democracies that engage in wars. Unlike dictatorships and autocracies, such as Russia, which are able to hide and mask casualty figures, as well as persecute, arrest and silence dissenting voices, democracies, such as the United States and, in this specific case, France, have no way of hiding the number of casualties for long, especially if they are high and, especially, if they occur in a conflict not directly related to the daily lives of the French. Therefore, the Russians know that if they cause significant casualties in the French forces sent to Ukraine, these casualties will have a very strong impact on President Macron's fragile and fragmented government, forcing, in the Russians' view, an inevitable withdrawal from Ukraine. It is not yet clear if, when and how France will send soldiers to Ukraine. But from what we know so far, these soldiers will initially act as instructors. Depending on the evolution of the conflict, they may act in air defense operations or in border protection, all with the aim of freeing up Ukrainian fighters for the front line. In a war where it is impossible to hide large military formations for long, it will only be a matter of time before Russia discovers the location of the French formations, at which point, according to Lavrov, they will be immediately attacked. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any news.